Now you can understand who sent the Buddha to this world. Nobody else. His own virtues, qualities, determination, aspiration. That is called aspiration. Because all the other religions talk. So and so was sent by the God, his only son. And if not, reincarnations of God. The Buddhism rejected all these things. Next Buddha also appear in the same manner. There are so many in the waiting list on the way. Fundamentals of Buddhism, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. These three things. And this one, patience, tolerance, understanding, under precepts. And paramitas also, perfection. We cannot practice patience and tolerance if there is no understanding. By force we cannot do that. Sometimes we keep quiet, but there is no patience, or we tolerate because we are powerless. Because of that we keep quiet. That is not tolerance. And you say, what to do? I have to tolerate. There's no patience, tolerance there. Understanding. Now then, we analyze, find out where the mistake is for this problem and who is responsible. When you read that booklet, you are responsible. In that booklet, I have explained these things. Who is responsible for all these problems? We always blame others. But we are not ready to admit that we are also responsible to a certain extent. We also contribute certain things to create many problems. Because of our egoism, we try to justify. We are right and others are wrong. Now that is the wrong attitude. Do you know the famous sayings either by Confucius, I think Confucius. What is that? Can you remember? Uncultured people always blame others. Semi-cultured people blame themselves. Fully cultured people blame neither. Very deep meaning. Confucius. When people are uncultured, for everything they accuse others. Then, those who have realized many things, they are called semi-cultured. Without hurting or disturbing or accusing others, they blame themselves. But that is also not a good attitude. Do you know, when we develop our metta or loving kindness, so one of the advices given by the Buddha is not to hate ourselves. It is hated. That means we pollute our own mind by hating us. It is mental pollution. So in the same way, when you blame ourselves, we develop this hatred. And it doesn't solve the problem, but we can avoid so many problems because we don't want to disturb others. For everything is a yes. I am responsible. Then others won't get angry. Simply by saying that I am responsible doesn't solve the problem. There is no inner development. Then he says, fully cultured people who really can understand things, blames neither. That means without blaming, without accusing, without complaining, without criticizing, they try to find out what is the cause, where the mistake is. So by realizing this, they try not to repeat. That famous story, one of the Jataka stories, 10 paramitas, when you read those 555 Jataka stories, previous birth stories of the Buddha, they are belong to one of these 10 paramitas. Did you learn 10 paramitas completely? No. All right. Now this is a simple subject. Dhanam silancha nekhammam panya viriyena panchamam khanti satcha adittanam metta upekha. These are the 10 paramita, perfection. He completed life after life. Now the first one is dana. What is the real meaning of dana? Can you tell me? What is the purpose of practicing dana? To reduce our selfishness. The real meaning of dana or charity means to reduce our selfishness. If we are selfish, we cannot give anything, contribute anything for the welfare of others. in whatever form. That is the real meaning. If we practice this dana to increase our selfishness, the real meaning of dana is not there. So he practiced this, I told you last night, during the last previous birth as a human being, King Vesantara, he was ruling the country. And whatever people come and ask, he started giving. And so much property collected by his parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, all of the kings, and huge palace full of valuable properties. Then he started to think, all our parents and grandparents, they have collected all these things, they have not taken away anything. They have dropped everything and gone alone. But I must be wise. I must make use of these things. I don't go away without. So I want to carry all these things with me. It is not selfishness. That means I must contribute for the benefit of others. A saying, this is in Sanskrit. Artha guhe niyuttante asmasani mitra bandhava sukrutang duskritang chaiva gacchanta manugacchati. Very meaningful. So whatever we accumulate during our lifetime, after our death, everything remains at home or in the bank or somewhere else. We never carry with us. It is impossible. We develop so much craving, attachment towards this, but we cannot carry. The most unfortunate thing is this. Many people have not realized. If we develop our craving towards our property at the dying moment, then the life becomes a failure. That attachment, that craving, we maintain at that dying moment as last thoughts. Never contribute to produce a good life. Then rebirth can take place as one of those spirits we call pretas or ghosts, some invisible living being who are very unfortunate. They are the one who disturb. They do exist. The reason is they have departed from this world with that attachment and craving towards the property. I can tell you a story, not a story, it's about 15 years ago. A Christian Christian family, Maxwell Road in Kuala Lumpur. Very big house, that house is still there. Came to see me and told me actually what is happening. No one can sleep at night time in that house. Whole night can hear all sort of disturbances. And the fear also developed in their mind. So they have done everything according to their religions and various other ways, but no relief. Then they told me some people advised them to come and see us, that we can do something for them. So I asked whether I can do anything. So the owner of that house is a doctor. They are Christian. So I went to that house. What I did, I recited only Ratana Sutta for 7 times and sprinkled the water inside the house, the whole area. Came back. And next day, they came to see me. And they are very unhappy and very serious. Then I asked why. Then he said, do you know what happened last night? Inside their house is completely quiet. No disturbances. But outside, around the house, even the neighbors also complain. Next day morning, they came and asked, what happened in your house last night? Very big commotion was going on all around the house the whole night. They thought that purposely I had done something. I knew actually what it is. So next day also, I went. That day, I have taken some sands and recited more, the same Ratan Sutta. That's very powerful. And asked them to bury the sand at the 4 corners of the land. This sand. And the next day, they did not come. I knew. After 1 week, they came and stopped their car in front of my office. Then I saw coming with orange and grapes and any good sight. With smiling face. So they told me, now 1 week, completely quiet, no disturbance. Then I asked about the history of this house. Then they said, their grandfather erected that house. And he also died in the same house. And his father also staying in the same house. He too died in the same house. And those two, or one of them, might have developed strong attachment toward this house. And they are disturbing because they have jealousy. another story. Also Christian house, Pudu Road, is nearly 20 years ago. I never believed this. People always talk, but I did not believe that it is true. What is happening in this house? All the valuable things, money and jewelry, every day are missing, item by item. Supposing if $1,000 or $100 note, one day only $100 missing. And jewelries, maybe a ring or a one chain, but the rest remain there. And next day another one. And they lock everything and keep the key under their pillow when they sleep, not in their pocket. But next day morning, you can see the key is hanging there in the cupboard and the drawer, but not here. So they told me it had been going on for nearly 6 months. They have lost all the valuables. And every day they said they ask the priest to pray in the church. No result. Then some of their friends advised, why not to go to a Buddhist temple and ask their help. So I went there. The whole house is like a church, The crosses and Jesus and Mary and this and that, the whole protections, But things are missing. So I did the same thing in that house. Only once. After 1 week, they came and told me, completely quiet. Then they told me the secret. This man started a business with another partner. He is a Malay. When this business was prospering, the Malay partner separated due to some misunderstanding. And he started his business in the same area, same business. But this man is still prospering. So the other man could not tolerate, and he has done something. Now that is his belief. So whatever it may be, after that no more disturbance. This Ratana Sutta, the history in it. When there was a very big famine, epidemic in India, thousands of people were dying, drought, no rain. Then the Buddha visited this place with Venerable Ananda and recited this Ratana Sutta. Then he asked Ananda to go and sprinkle this water on the whole town area. That is how the sprinkling holy water, I think, started from there. Of course, this custom was there in India even earlier, the sprinkling holy water. Then the famine and the drought, everything disappears slowly. And many people they engrave this sutra completely and use for various other purposes, especially for their protection from various evil forces. It really works. So, now I started with 10 paramitas and come back to Ratana Sutta and then how to go back again. Where is the connection now? No. I recited one Sanskrit stanza. I wanted to explain. Now then I got into this line. Artha gruhe nivrittante. Whatever we have accumulated remain at home, we never carry. Then I told, if we develop our craving and attachment toward them, we become very unfortunate living being due to our own property. We had to release our mind from all these things before we die. That is why it is necessary to hand over all the responsibilities to others. If not do it, then we can die peacefully and with happiness. So those who die with that craving, rebirth can take place as unfortunate living beings. Then the second, Asmasane Mitra Bandhava. We have friends and relatives. The property remain at home, but our friends and relatives follow up to graveyard, or crematorium. And they never follow the departed one. They never say, oh, we also want to go with you. After burial or cremation, they come back. When they go to graveyard or cremation, they cry. When they come back, they laugh. Then fight for the property. Right? Sukritang duskritang. Now that means good deeds and bad deeds that we have done during our lifetime. Gacchantamanugaccati. That departed person carried with him only these two things. Only his good karma and bad karma. He cannot carry anything else. You can put anything into the coffin. Doesn't serve any purpose. Because our next existence or rebirth take place not according to our belief. You must understand this. Those who believe after their death, straight away they can go to heaven. That is only a belief. But rebirth is natural. Rebirth does not create by anybody. A God cannot create rebirth. The Buddha cannot create it. That is our own. It is natural. Whether we believe it or not makes no difference. It is natural. But good karma and bad karma, these two, one of them, are responsible for the next life. So, the Buddha, he practiced this life after life to reduce his craving, attachment, selfishness, and contributed for the welfare of others. That is the way how, so at that moment, last birth, also he has given away everything. Even his own 2 children and a wife. Do you know the real story? Satra, the king of the Devas, wanted to test him. Because everybody says that he is willing to give away anything, whatever people come and ask. He never say no. So, Sakra, he transformed himself as a beggar and asked his wife and 2 children. Then he said, yes, I am willing to sacrifice, but I cannot force. If they are willing to go with you, I have no objection. Then discuss with his wife. She told him, I have been supporting you throughout my life to fulfill your wish. It is my duty to suffer. Also, I told you, there are so many previous births, same husband and same wife. So their understanding is very, very grave. Always waiting to help each other. So, donate it. Okay, you can take care. Then the beggar suddenly disappeared. Then the Sakra again appeared and told me, actually, I don't want to take away your wife and children, but I wanted to test you. Because this is the most difficult thing for a man to do. And you have done that also. Definitely, one day you become a Buddha. Now that means he has reduced that attachment also. Now that is the way how he practiced Dhammananda. The next one, Sila. Sila means principles, moral principles. Not the principles or the man-made principles. Man can create morals and principles according to his convenience. But these things are changeable, time to time or country to country. But moral principles are the same. Man cannot change the moral principle. To maintain moral principles, we must have two qualities. What are those two? Shame and fear. That is called moral shame and moral fear. These two things govern the whole mankind. Do you know the history of all these religions? Buddhism is about 2,500 years. Christianity not yet 2,000 years. Islam about 1,700. Hinduism maybe 3,000 to 4,000 years. And Judaism and Zoroastrianism, Iran, they say about 5,000 to 7,000 years old. But before all these religions come into existence, human beings could manage to govern the mankind, to maintain some sort of human dignity. These two things, shame and fear. They maintain this. So, if there is no shame or fear, fear does not mean fear of punishment. Fear of committing evil, wicked thing, that is called fear. To tell you the real meaning of fear, my own experience. I have never seen in my life how people slaughter chicken and all these creatures. I have never seen. Because in our families, for more than 2,000 years, their religious background is such, they never do such things. That is their way of life. So I have never seen. After coming here, one day I went to Singapore with one of my friends. So he took me, I wanted to buy something. So he took me by his car. On the way he had to stop his car. And he went out to buy the thing that I wanted. Then the platform there, I saw a man was slaughtering chicken. How he cut and how that poor creature struggled and jumped, and this first time in my life. Then my heart started, heartbeat and palpitation. That is called moral fear. Because we cannot tolerate, our heart cannot tolerate that. We are not used to it. Second time, I had the same experience here. When they started to shoot crows around this area. One day when I was coming through Lonely Road, on the way, the river side, I saw so many crows, when they fly, then they shoot, then I saw how they drop and into the field. Then started to think, now this creature, when he flies, suddenly these bullets affect. And how that creature feels at that time. What sort of shock and fear, tension, pain, but others laugh, enjoy, watching how they drop, how they die. So I could not tolerate. I came back. My heart also not very strong one. Palpitation increased, so I had to take Valium tablet to tranquilize, to calm the heartbeat. And that is called fear of that type of fear. Shame means it is shameful thing for a man to do, because man is regarded as cultured, civilized, living being. Man must know how to maintain some sort of dignity. So man should not behave like animals. Man has human intelligence, reason out, and use that sense of reasoning. So when we violate all these things, to disturb the peace and happiness and freedom of other living beings, it is a shameful thing for us, for the mankind. Human beings should not behave like this. We have to develop, when we develop these two things, shame and fear, automatically we observe so many precepts and develop morals. That is called seal, discipline. Then those who observe this principle, uphold their principle under any circumstance, they never surrender themselves. That means they never change their principles. They are willing to sacrifice their life for the sake of their principles. To them, life is nothing. Principle is more important. Why? This body means life. This is temporary. Exists for a few years. Whether we die today or tomorrow or a few years' time, to such people there is no difference. But by violating our principles, we have to suffer for a long period. Life after life we have to suffer. So great people. Now let us take Jesus Christ. He had to die, had to face untimely death because of his principles. Others could not tolerate or understand. So he was crucified. That was the death sentence at that time. after his death, his disciples have written all sorts of cock and bull stories about him, taken to heaven, and he died to take away others' sins and all sorts of things. But we are not willing to accept all those stories. But we respect Jesus. He had to die because of his good qualities and virtues. We are not against Christianity. Christianity is a good religion, but we don't like those crooks, those who practice all sorts of monkey tricks to mislead people in the name of Christianity. Socrates, first time in Europe, a man tried to introduce democracy in that country, liberal views. One day he said, I follow my mother. And many people knew that his mother was a midwife. Then people, how can you say that you follow your mother? Oh, you don't know the meaning. My mother helped ladies to deliver babies easily. I help people to deliver their ideas easily. So I follow the same. So people could not understand him. The government could not tolerate him. Death sentence. Those days, their system was some poisons to drink, that's all. When he was in the jail, before his death, many people knew that this is a great man. And some people told him personally, if you want to escape, we can help you. We can release you. Then he told him, yes, today I can escape from death. But do you think I can escape from death after running away? One day I have to face this again, isn't it? So why not I face it here and finish? This is the way how great people think. So he prepared to die. That's why we are talking about him. And I told Gandhi in India, when Hindus and Muslims started slaughtering each other, he, being a Hindu, advised Hindus not to kill Muslims. But one fanatical young Hindu could not tolerate and shot. Because of his principle, non-violence, he faced it is not untimely death. He was very old at that time. Even then, he was shot. Principles. Their names remain forever, never disappear. People respect them. The Buddha, how many times they tried to kill him, but no one could kill him. Because of this, his principles. So, for understanding people, life is not that important, but their principles. They know in the process of their observance of the principles or precepts, they may die. They feel happy if we can die for the sake of their principles, instead of dying for nothing. Now this is the way how to observe precepts. He has done. There's one story, previous birth story of the Buddha. During that lifetime, he was preaching, practicing about patience. So, one day he has gone to the garden of the palace of a king. And the king was having a picnic party, and there were so many young girls also to entertain him. So after taking drinks, the king wanted to relax and sleep. Then these girls saw a man was sitting somewhere, and they went to see this man. They started to talk, and this man preached these young girls how to practice this patience and why and value. It's very interesting. They continued this talk. Then suddenly the king, when he opened his eyes, these girls are not around here. Oh, he was very angry, and he saw these girls are talking to another man there in the same area. Then these girls saw a man was sitting somewhere, and they went to see this man. They started to talk, and this man preached these young girls how to practice this patience and why and value. It's very interesting. They continued this talk. Then suddenly the king, when he opened his eyes, these girls are not around here. Oh, he was very angry, and he saw these girls are talking to another man there in the same area. Then he asked one of his attendants to go and hold this girl. And they told, that man taught us how to practice patience. Then the king and one of these attendants went to him. Then he asked, what are you doing here? He said, I am practicing patience, I am preaching about patience. Then he asked his attendant to cut one of his hands, one arm. Then asked, have you got patience? Then this man said, my patience is not in my hand. Simply by cutting my arms, you cannot take away my patience. Then he asked this man to beat him properly, kicking. After beating and beating, where is your patience? Then he told, my patience is not in my body. By beating this body, you cannot take away my patience. See, up to what extent that he has developed his patience. Then the king also realized who this man is. There are many stories previous birth stories, how he had to suffer because of his principles, but he never gave up. When we are going to observe certain principles, when some hindrances, difficulties come to us, we say, oh, very difficult to practice now, we give up, no hope. That is our attitude. Then, nekkhamma, the third one. Nekkhamma means renunciation. Renunciation, that means renounce. Without developing attachment towards anything. There were many stories how he has sacrificed whole kingdom, all his properties, valuable things, to maintain peace, happiness, free, complete freedom in his mind. Even the last birth as a prince, the father wanted him to rule the country. He knew that this way of life is miserable, there is no peace, but the purpose of my life is not to lead a worldly life as a king, but to find out wisdom and enlightenment, to pave the way for others to get rid of their suffering. I must work for that. He knew by enjoying his royal or worldly life, he won't gain this wisdom. He become a worldly man. He can support only his wife and children and all his what you call subjects in his kingdom. In which way? He cannot give them complete freedom, liberate them from worldly suffering. And that is why he decided to renounce. Then the mind is free, concentrate easily, because no responsibility, no disturbances, and jealousy, anger, greed, selfishness never appear in that mind, because nothing to claim. If there is nothing for us to claim, anger, jealousy never appear in our mind. Fear also never appears. So, he sacrificed everything, not only for his own freedom, his own happiness. If he wanted to gain Nibbanic bliss earlier, without suffering too much, life after life, in order to gain his enlightenment, He should have done that. So his idea was to become a Buddha, enlightened person, to enlighten others, but not for his own happiness. He agreed, voluntarily he observed. He agreed to suffer, to gain this wisdom, to support others. Now this is the nature of renunciation. Then Panya, fourth one. Panya means a real understanding. Through proper perspective, in reality, not mere knowledge. This is very difficult. He had to work for this. Now we have only knowledge. But we had to develop this knowledge to gain Panya. Panya means realization. So he realized many things, but completed his realization after gaining his Buddhahood or enlightenment. That is why in Dhammacakka Sutra, the first sermon, after 3 months after his enlightenment, he said, now I got these 5 kinds of wisdom. Chakkhum udapadi, jnanam udapadi, panya udapadi, vidya udapadi, aloko udapadi. These 5 kinds of wisdom appear. We haven't got even one of them so far fully. We have only knowledge. Chakku means eye. That is called wisdom eye. Some others say divine eyes. The real meaning is wisdom eye. When we look at, when you see certain things, we take only the superficial value. The outlook we take as reality. But others, they know how to penetrate, how to analyze, to understand what these objects which appear in reality. Example, we give a coin, look like gold, very shining, to a small child. And this child likes it very much. Because it's shining, look nice, he likes to keep it. He thinks this is a very valuable thing. But this is only a piece of metal, but very shining, no value. but the child doesn't know it. Then we give the same thing to another ordinary man in the street, thinking this is a gold coin. He also takes into his hand, very heavy, and look like gold. Oh yes, he's very happy. He takes this as gold coin. Again we give this to a goldsmith. And he got certain thing, chemicals to test, to find out whether this real gold or bluffing one, or how many carats, and he knows everything.